Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News channel, everyone. Great to have you all here. Where should I begin? Russia, Putin rejects ceasefire proposal. We'll bring you up to date on that. J.D. Vance over in Israel still trying to put the best face on a deteriorating situation. We have, Trump and his tariffs. Certainly having a major impact on the Canadian auto industry. And then today, another shoe dropped. This time, General Motors talking about discontinuing production of the Brightdrop EV vehicle in Ingersoll at the CAMI plant. Very modern facility by any standard, and major blow again to the industry. We'll tell you what's in store as that all unfolds. Also, President Poopy Plane. I can't believe I'm saying this. And when I got into the news business over 4 decades ago, I'm that old, I never thought I would be reading headlines, or not even reading, but just ad-libbing headlines for a news story with the words President Poopy Plane. Well, anyway, the fallout from President Poopy Plane's social media temper tantrum over the No Kings protests escalates. We'll bring you that as well. And I think we're also, oh my God, I think we're going to talk about the ostriches just a little bit. We'll see. Maybe a little later, not too much later. Because I know you guys, you can't get enough of the ostriches. Anyway, okay, let's take a little break. We'll come back and then we'll start digging into today's top news stories.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So the peace president, Donald Trump, a little blow to his ego, I would say, and just an unfortunate turn of events. Predictable, I would say. Donald Trump says he doesn't want a wasted meeting after Russia has, Vladimir Putin has rejected a ceasefire proposal. They were supposed to meet, but it's all off. Trump indicated that a key sticking point remained Moscow's refusal to cease fighting along the current front line. And Trump was in the White House making some remarks on this today. I'm not that surprised. Just the whole thing's been called off because, Russia isn't going to stop. And as much as the narrative or the we don't want to get involved in any foreign wars rhetoric, and that side of the camp wants to believe that Russia, and we were told Russia had no designs on taking all of Ukraine. You read, blah, blah. Now, it's this is why my position on the issue has changed over time. It's because it's become painfully obvious that some people just have not been entirely truthful or honest. Here's Trump in the White House, and even he is getting frustrated. The war would never have started and it would never have happened if I had been president.
Mr. President, the meeting with Vladimir Putin is canceled or put on hold. Do you know what happened there, and does that affect your decision whether or not to send Tomahawks?
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But
that's what he says. Needless to say, very, very disappointed Donald Trump is. He wants that Nobel Peace Prize. And I hope they get the war over with, because the repetitive rhetoric from Trump, that war never would have started if I had been president. It actually was still in effect. Like Russia went into Crimea 2014. It was all still happening while he was president. But anyway, that's a minor detail. The full-scale invasion didn't begin until 2022. Yeah, it's been almost 4 years now. Almost. Coming up on it. Here's the BBC. They're taking note of it. Says here, didn't want a wasted meeting. Earlier, a White House official had said there were no plans for a Trump-Putin meeting in the immediate future after Trump said Thursday the two would hold talks in Budapest within 2 weeks. So it's all called off, or at least postponed. Called off, same thing. They met in Alaska last August, hastily organized summit. I think Trump got played. And Trump, of course, just met days ago with Zelensky to talk about possibility of sending Tomahawks. We'll see what happens now. And the Russian talking points about, the root causes have to be addressed, and, all those standard lines, and Ukraine is full of Nazis. Those standard talking points from the Russian side surfacing again from the Russian side as Putin rejects the whole attempt to bring the thing to a standstill along the existing battle lines, because Russia wants additional territory given to it that it has not yet even taken. Well, we could go on and on about it, but I don't want to go on too long with this, because in my view, it was predictable and we're just going around and around in circles. However, I was sent this. Mike McCarrick actually sent this to me, and I just I'll share this with you tonight. Mike, of course, comes on the program from time to time, military expert, analyst, veteran. He's been over in Ukraine, and he's a great resource for us, and shared this with me today from the Institute for the Study of War, just giving us sort of a timeline here and a status of where things are at with the war between Russia and Ukraine. Not a special military operation, as it has been called by Vladimir Putin, but even on the Russian side now, they do use from time to time the actual full-blown words or word war, not special military operation as it was originally called. It just has a nicer, fuzzier feel to it when they call it a special military operation. Kremlin voices clarified Russia's position on negotiations following Western reporting about the October 17th Trump-Zelensky summit, in order to reiterate that Russia remains committed to addressing the alleged, there it is right there, as I said, root causes of the war, and is unwilling to agree to a ceasefire. And that was yesterday. So I don't know why why this is just being announced today, but because this was published yesterday. But that's because these guys are on top of it all the time. This is their beat, if you will. The Kremlin, it says, has repeatedly referenced the need to eliminate the alleged root causes of the war in Ukraine, which Kremlin officials have defined as NATO's eastward expansion and Ukraine's alleged, excuse me, discrimination against Russian speakers. That's all up in the Donbass area. So they use that as justification for going in because there are a lot of people who speak Russian up there. However, case in point, or an important point to take note of, is that Zelensky's first language is Russian, not Ukrainian. Didn't learn Ukrainian until years later. The Kremlin uses discussions about these root causes to forward Russia's original war demands, it says here, for Ukrainian neutrality, the removal of the legitimate government in Ukraine, the installation of a pro-Russian government, and changes to NATO's open door policy. Kremlin officials have also repeatedly rejected Trump's and Zelensky's proposals for a ceasefire on the grounds that negotiations for a final peace settlement must come first. I'd say this is a gain, my opinion, for what it's worth. I'm just sitting in the chair, and what do I know? But I think this is a miscalculation again on the Russian side, because if you look at what's really been going on over the last few months, Ukraine has really asserted its independence in terms of its ability to defend itself in a more robust way, because they have developed such good drone technology, and they're producing drones domestically, and it has been a drone war, and they have not only been able to protect territory from being taken, with only about 18 to 20% of total territory in Ukraine having been taken after all this time by Russia, they've also been striking into Russia. And this is something that is costing Putin dearly, because oil production, infrastructure, especially energy production, it's down substantially. So much so that they're actually to the point now where they're importing gasoline, we are told, to keep people's gas tanks filled so they can get to work and get around. So it is having a serious impact, but not clear where this is going to lead now. Will this put those Tomahawk missiles back on the table? Is it something that Trump will revisit? I guess we'll have to wait to see. Trump flips and flops and flops and flips. I think sometimes it depends on who he's talking to and what he thinks his strategy needs to be. A lot of the time, I think it's so that he can put pressure or even bully either Putin or Zelensky into trying to get them to do something. That seems to be his standard sort of tactic. Putin, I think, less prone to being bullied. Zelensky, much more diplomatic, keeping his cool through all of the abuse that has been heaped on him, and the propaganda and the browbeating that he took in the Oval Office. Man, what a tough job that is, right? And in fact, I'd say even Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, I'd say a lot of world leaders have to just sit there and sort of suck it up when they go to the White House, because, of course, the United States is such a super powerful country with so much weight behind it, not just militarily, but also economically. Here's a map, and you can see right in there the red area. Main effort, Eastern Ukraine, subordinate main effort, Kharkiv operation in there. So it's fluid, but it's not moving much. It changes a little this way and that way, but it's just reached a point where it's kind of almost at something of a stalemate on the front lines. But the important stuff that Ukraine has been doing most recently is those strikes into Russia, and that has to be something that Putin has to be concerned about, because that then raises alarm bells at home. When you're actually under attack at home on Russian soil, that is very hard to sort of mask over or hide. Casualties in Ukraine, that's something that people become aware of when the body bags come home, but not so. But when you have drones exploding and blowing up infrastructure and oil refineries inside Russia, yeah, people become very aware, and that affects support for war efforts for sure. In any event, this is far from over, folks. We'll be coming back to it now. J.D. Vance is still over in Israel tonight. I believe he's still there. Certainly we have a clip of him somewhere here as he tries to, as I said, make the best of a deteriorating situation. Let me take a little break here. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get him queued up, and then we're going to move on to this incredibly important story out of Canada with General Motors saying they're going to discontinue production at one of the most important auto plants in the country.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I have to say I am amazed at the headlines on the J.D. Vance visit, but maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe we should give him the benefit of the doubt. But him being a politician and having so much at stake over in Gaza, along with President Trump, J.D. Vance, I think, is trying to put a positive spin on something that is, to say the least, a major challenge, and that is keeping the ceasefire together. Here's the headline. It says, Gaza ceasefire. This is BBC again. Their headline is, Gaza ceasefire going better than expected, Vance says. CNN, Vance downplays concerns over ceasefire and visit Israel. The Guardian, J.D. Vance insists truce is durable and repeats Trump threat to obliterate Hamas. If you've got a ceasefire and it's working, you don't have to obliterate people. Oh my God. It's not laughable, but it's just, how is that a ceasefire? And we've seen bombs being dropped, people being killed. I mean, they're trying to still prevent it from erupting back into like a full-blown all-out shooting war. But it's just low, it's just isolated bombings. Let's show advances. This is on the Truth Social scroll for Trump. Here we go. This will no doubt have the most positive clip out of his entire address because it is on Donald Trump's Truth Social page. Here's J.D. Vance. Come on, J.D. Are you going to play or not? No. This Truth Social platform, when it comes to running these clips and things, it sucks. Let's try it again. Come on, play. Play. It played earlier. Now it doesn't want to play. Let's try it up here. You're not going to play? One more time.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you. Look, I think that we are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and things are going, frankly, better than I expected that they were. This is a very, very tough situation. You have two peoples, two enemies who have fought a very tough conflict against each other. You have a terrorist organization on one hand that murdered a lot of innocent people. You've got an Israeli army that was defending itself on the other, that has learned a lot over the past couple of years. And then, of course, you have an innocent civilian population in Gaza that's caught in the middle. But we're here at the Civilian Military Cooperation Center, which we are announcing the opening of. You have Israelis and Americans working hand in hand to try to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza, to implement a long-term peace, and to actually ensure that you have security forces on the ground in Gaza, not composed of Americans, who can keep the peace over the long term. So we've got a lot of work left to do. This is going to take a very, very long time, but I think Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Admiral Cooper behind me have done an incredible job. I want to say just a couple of quick things, and then I want to turn it over to Steve Witkoff. Number one, the Israeli government has been remarkably helpful in this. I want to thank them, thank our Israeli partners, and all the folks particularly who are working hand in hand with their American friends here at the CMCC. And number two, I want to say that there is this weird attitude I've sensed in the American media and the Western media where there's almost this desire to root for failure, that every time something bad happens, that every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire, this is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I want peace. I'm not rooting for the end of the ceasefire. It's just that it doesn't look like a ceasefire to me. What it looks like is you still have spotty fighting. It's maybe dialed down a bit, but you still have people dying. You have bombing going on. You have still air raids happening in Lebanon. This is not peace in the Middle East, in my view. I don't know how you can call it peace when you have people being killed and conflict still ongoing and air raids happening and bombs being dropped. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. The only thing that makes sense is that with this Trump administration, it's almost like Fantasyland, where they create realities just by saying things. If they say it's a ceasefire, then it's a ceasefire, even if people are still shooting each other. If they say they have peace in the Middle East, it's peace in the Middle East, even if there are bombs still being dropped. It's nonsensical. It's just all it's like a giant worldwide psyop. I don't know what else to tell you, because to me, a ceasefire means no more shooting people, no more killing people, no more bombing people, no more blowing up buildings, no more talking about eradication of one side or the other. If you have a ceasefire, you don't need to eradicate the other side. If one side is killing people and they need to be eradicated, you're still in a conflict. Unless Donald Trump says it's a ceasefire. It's a manufactured reality. And if you are a big Trump MAGA, I have never used this word before for MAGA people. And for a time, I thought Trump was doing some really good things during the Trump 1.0 administration. And I've never used the word cult until tonight. But it just popped into my head. If he can actually just declare that there's a ceasefire while people are still being shot and bombed, and saying that, and people are convinced that Palestine has now been freed, yet they have no self-governance, no sovereignty, no actual state. There's going to be a provisional government put in place that Trump is going to be the head of. This is ridiculous. It's just a fantasy. So that's the word that pops into my. If you're in a cult, they can brainwash you and convince you of anything they want. I don't know if it qualifies as that, but it's certainly something. It is something, isn't it? I'll be right back. Stay with me.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks, we are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. Really, really bad news for the Canadian Ontario auto industry today, as General Motors confirmed they will be discontinuing production of the Brightdrop electric vehicle. It's a commercial vehicle. Here's their news release. It says here, General Motors today confirmed the end of production of the Brightdrop electric delivery van built at Cami Assembly in Ingersoll, Ontario. Brightdrop production will not be moved to another site. The commercial electric delivery van market developed much slower than expected, with the plant operating below capacity and production suspended since May of 2025. The changing regulatory environment and the elimination of tax credits in the United States have made the business even more challenging. The decision is part of broader adjustments the company is making to North America EV capacity. In other words, under Biden, you had full steam ahead, put the pedal to the metal on the accelerator and get rid of gasoline powered vehicles, convert to electric. Canada was all in. I said, you may remember, and I hate to say it, but I told you so. I said, this is very dangerous because dangerous in the sense that Canada has dumped billions and Ontario has dumped billions of dollars in government subsidies into these factories in Canada. Battery production facilities, assembly facilities, retooling, getting ready for EV production to electrify the auto industry. And I've never been a huge fan of public-private partnerships and a lot of government money going into big companies in a way like this, where it is trying to create a market or force people to change their habits and purchase products that they otherwise would not in a free market. I think it is a very dangerous thing. And as I said, with all the money that has been invested, unprecedented levels of government intervention and involvement in the expansion and reinvention of the auto industry in Canada, I said, if they don't bring these things online and produce efficiently, and if we're not able to sell these darn things, then it's going to be a major drag on the economy, on taxpayers. Now, because Trump has shifted gears, we're no longer in the Biden era, and the pro-green, get rid of ICE engines, internal combustion engines, convert to electricity. Now it looks like EVs are, going the way to the dodo bird before they've even finished putting these plants together. I think the one in St. Thomas is the largest building in the world. It's that big. And a lot of Canadian tax dollars have gone into that. Now, the Kami plant in Ingersoll, this is a symptom of an economic disease now that is forming, cancerous cells in the economy, because the Brightdrop was an electric vehicle, a commercial electric vehicle. Let me show you what it looks like. I've done stories on this, not just here, but also on the automotive show that I've had, the SST car show. So here's B-roll footage from inside the Kami assembly plant. Very modern facility. When did they put that place together? That was a joint General Motors Suzuki venture originally. And that goes back to like the 1980s. My uncle, as a millwright, was in there for a long time. He helped build that place and get it up and running. He was just one of many, many, many workers who got that place up and running. Today, it's still a modern facility. General Motors has some very modern production facilities in Canada, a flex line there in Ontario as well, where they produce more than one vehicle at the same time on one assembly line, different models. And this plant, right up to date, but the vehicles not selling. And now, because Trump has eliminated the purchase incentives, these things are not selling. So GM is just discontinuing them. It's like it's a delivery van, electric. And so what are we going to do in Ontario now? Well, GM, if you go back to the news release, I mean, look how automated this place is. Look at the robots. This is part of, the thing with Trump, though. And I think this is actually the little piece of information that he's hiding from the American public. These factories, as you set these factories up, they're highly automated. They don't generate as many jobs as they used to. So while the reason he wants these factories down in the United States is because they are automated. He wants the value added that comes from assembly facilities and the incredible levels of efficiency that now come with high levels of robotics and automation, and soon artificial intelligence, which is coming into play as well. So these factories are not going to generate as many jobs as people think. Over time, they will generate less and less and less, but they will generate tax revenue for the government and productive capacity within the domestic borders of the United States, if he is able to use tariffs in the way that he is hoping in order to get these factories moved to the US. Stealing them, essentially, from Canada. That's really what he's doing. He's stealing our factories using tariffs, simply because he's able to exert this pressure because of the size of the US market versus Canada. We need to export a lot of what we sell in order to have the economies of scale to make these things, to make production viable. Just go back to the news release from General Motors today on this, and then we're going to get some reaction from the powers that be on the Canuckistanian side. Here, again, the decision to end production is driven by market demand and in no way reflects the commitment and skill of our workforce at Kami, said the president and managing director of GM Canada. This continues to be an uncertain time for our workforce at Kami, and we are committed to working closely with our employees, Unifor, and the Canadian and Ontario governments as we evaluate next steps for the future of Kami. GM appreciates that support from Canadian and Ontario governments and enabled investments in Kami, and is looking forward to engaging with our partners to have meaningful discussions about opportunities for the plant. So they're not saying they're absolutely going to close this place down. They say they need to put something else in there. Of course, the fly in the ointment is the tariffs. Where are we going to end up with the tariffs. The company will work with Unifor, it says, to follow the provisions of the collective agreement, and hourly employees will receive 6 months of salary and the potential for lump sum payments and other benefits. Says here's some fast facts on General Motors in Canada. GM Canada employs over 7,000 Canadians across manufacturing facilities, a multi-campus advanced tech and software center, parts distribution network, and corporate offices. 34,000 retirees supported through GM pensions and benefits. That's important too. 450 dealerships nationwide in Canada, with over 20,000 employees contributing to local economies while representing Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. GM Canada's operations support thousands of indirect jobs created across suppliers, logistics, services, and technology firms. GM has invested more than $2.6 billion in Canadian manufacturing in the past 5 years alone, including a $280 million investment to support production of next-generation full-size pickups. Oshawa Assembly is GM's only North American plant building both light-duty and heavy-duty Chevrolet Silverado pickups on the same line. And a portion of Oshawa continues to support aftermarket parts focused on stamping, related sub-assembly, and other activities for GM. That's that flex line that I talked about, which I've toured. We ran a story here a couple of years ago showing how that place works. It's really amazing. Multiple models of vehicles coming off one assembly line. St. Catharines Propulsion Plant builds engines for our high-demand pickups and SUVs. And they have the Canadian Innovation and EV Supply Chain with over 1,000 engineers, developers, and technical experts across 3 Ontario locations. GM's Canada's Technical Centre is a key hub for advanced engineering, software development, and vehicle testing. GM and POSCO Future M are building a $600 million facility in Quebec that will produce materials for GM's EV battery cells. In other words, it's a big deal. Keep in mind, though, that the Canadian government, along with the U.S. government at times, has bailed out these big companies. Chrysler in the 70s, GM went bankrupt, and who was there to prop them up? Government, taxpayers. We all contributed to do that, and that's why the Conservatives have been screaming bloody murder over a lot of this stuff. And here's Poilievre again, Pierre Poilievre, Conservative Party of Canada, for our American friends, opposition leader, holding the government's feet to the fire on this. Where are the guarantees for payback after taxpayers invested in propping up these companies and helping them retool?
Another day, more costly slogans from that member of parliament. But now Canadians are learning it was a bait and switch. Today, another terrible tragedy. As they laugh, 1,200 workers at the Ingersoll Ontario plant learned that they would lose their jobs after that Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win and that he would keep their jobs here in Canada. They join with 2,000 workers in Brampton, many more in Oshawa. How does the Prime Minister look in the eyes, the very workers that he sold out and betrayed?
I'll tell you how the Prime Minister how he will deal with the auto sector. He will look at the auto workers in the eyes and he will say, we will fight for your job. And that's exactly what we're doing. Every single day, we're negotiating back in Washington, but also, this is important to say that I met this morning with the Canadian CEO of GM. I was in conversation with the head of the labor union of Unifor, and I also talked to Doug Ford, and I talked to Vic Fideli. And you know what? We're putting in place a response group. We will make sure that we fight for these jobs.
She announced just now that she talked to this person, and she talked to that person, and she talked to this other person, and she talked, and she talked, and they talk, and they talk, and nothing gets done, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are tired of talk. They want their job. This government, or this Prime Minister, looked these workers in the eye and said he would negotiate a win, that he would protect auto jobs, that there would be an all-in-Canada supply chain that would keep them working. They even gave $250 million tax dollars to GM for this plant. And now those workers don't know how they're going to pay their bills. How does this government explain the broken promise and betrayal?
So the clip as put together by the Conservative Party. So a little bit of spin there, but pretty accurate, I would say, with the response. It ain't over, though, as they say, until the fat lady sings. And it ain't over. But it was a twofer at Parliament Hill today, as the Prime Minister and Melanie Joly were questioned by reporters. We have the exchanges right here. But first up, it was a twofer, as I say, because the Blue Jays going to the World Series. I guess they defeated the Mariners overnight, and the Prime Minister wanted to highlight that and put a little positive spin on things before dealing with the bad news. Here's the way it went down earlier today in Ottawa.
What a game. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, I always knew, but I mean, that is clutch. It's absolutely clutch. Springer coming through one knee and then getting it closed out. Gaussman, everyone. It was fantastic, and I'm super excited. See, I'm out of breath. I can't even.
We're talking about clutch. Can we expect a clutch move with APEC?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
We're talking about clutch. We know you've been working on it. Let's talk seventh inning stretch. Can we expect something in regards to sectoral tariffs?
That was just a brilliant segue there, Judy. It was very good. We'll see. We're ongoing discussions with the Americans, and I wouldn't overplay it. I'm looking forward to see the president at APEC in Korea, but we're going to be seeing lots of other countries, and one of our core elements of our strategy is diversifying trade. That's why we're going to Asia. You saw the Indonesian trade deal. We're in talks with ASEAN, which is the group of countries that I'm meeting with in Kuala Lumpur, and then more broadly at APEC, including with China.
What about trade with India? Do you think that we can...
Êtes-vous optimiste pour une entente à l'APEC, avant l'APEC avec les États-Unis?
On commence avec...
Okay, let's pull that down and we'll go over here to Melanie Joly. Actually, we'll go to, I think, Dominic LeBlanc first. Okay, I need to get past the French. Here we go. And I've got him. Here we go. Hang on. Almost there. I've got him, I promise. Right here, and bam.
So, I'm not going to give you an actual distance, but close, 2 meters, 50 meters, 2 kilometers. What I will say, as I said to your colleague Laurence, is I was surprised to see this morning the report that we're possibly going to finalize a deal in the next few days. We're making progress. I'm in constant discussions on the weekend, again yesterday, with my American counterparts. We're making progress. We're into a level of detail that we hadn't seen previously, but we still have work to do, and my objective is to continue to do that work until we get to the deal, but we haven't set a deadline of a particular date in the next week or two. We'll just continue to do the work to get the right deal. If we set an artificial deadline, it might lead us to a deal that's not in the best interest of Canadian workers. So we're just going to do the work until we get to that point, and the Prime Minister decides it's the right deal for Canada.
So obviously tough news this morning for the workers in Ingersoll for GM. I had a conversation with the Canadian CEO of GM this morning. I had a conversation with the head of Unifor, who represents the employees, and a conversation with Doug Ford and Vic Fideli, his Minister of Economic Development. So we've decided altogether that we would be creating a new response group, because we need to make sure that we fight for these jobs, that there are new models coming back to Ingersoll, and that GM has a bright future here in Canada. So that's what I'll be focusing on, and I'll be able to answer your questions. Now, en français, ce matin, j'ai parlé avec le PDG canadien de...
Get past this.
des obligations d'emploi et est-ce que vous avez donc un pouvoir de gagner contre les compagnies?
What sort of leverage do we have against them, considering it seems like Stellantis is even kind of thumbing their nose at a contract they signed? If GM can walk away, we don't really have that same sort of deal with them. So what kind of leverage do we have?
So I think it's two completely different situations. When you look at Stellantis, Stellantis had an obligation to bring back the production to the Brampton plant, and they failed that obligation. And so that's why we're putting maximum pressure on the company. And I was on the phone again with Unifor, on the phone with Doug Ford and Vic Fideli this morning to talk about how we would continue to push. And you'll have more news from me before the end of the day on this. When it comes to GM, they decided to let go their Brightdrop, which was an EV vehicle that was not going well commercially. That's a decision they took. Of course, we'll hold them to account for any support we've given them to develop that model, but at the same time, we are creating a response group to make sure that we're bringing a new model, because the 1,200 workers at the Ingersoll plant need to know that we're fighting for their jobs.
When you talk about bringing a new model in, that is something that's going to take some time. What kind of time frame are you looking at? These are people who are out of work now.
Well, urgency is a matter, so that's why we have no time to lose.
Thank you very much. This contract was Pierre Poilievre pour rester chef conservateur.
Okay. It's a problem, but it is important to keep in mind in this case that Brightdrop vehicle was not selling. They've been having trouble getting that thing to sell from the time it started rolling off the assembly line. So this was inevitable, whether the tariffs were in place or not. That vehicle was going to go away. It has. That's the end of it. The tariffs, the end of the purchase incentives on the U.S. side by the Trump administration. That's just the final nail in the coffin for a product that was not well conceived, I guess, from the beginning. And that is also why I've been saying all along, better be careful how much tax money you dump into pushing electric vehicles, because you're trying to artificially create demand. You're creating an artificial market by forcing people to buy something that they otherwise might not really want to buy, and they don't. When given a choice between a gas-powered vehicle or an electric vehicle, the majority of people still want a gasoline-powered vehicle. And the only way to make the EVs viable is through purchase incentives, subsidies, tax breaks. In other words, dump a ton of tax money into it to artificially lower the price, because they cost a lot more to produce, making them really far too expensive for people to buy if you actually have to pay the real price up front to buy them. A lot of other issues surrounding EVs. They haven't gone away. Still, in the mix, of course, and we better hope and pray on the Canadian side that these massive investments in the battery plants and these other facilities that have been retooled or even constructed to facilitate the electrification of the industry, that they end up being productive in some way, so we get our money back. We get a return on our taxpayer investment. Stay with me. More ahead.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So in Ontario, the premier, not happy. Doug Ford saying they might even sue General Motors because of what's happening.
This is a reason. Was this a bad bet, do you think, on Ontario's part to put money into this General Motors facility? And how do you get that money back?
If they breach a contract, we're going to sue them. Simple as that. And he knows that. They've breached a contract, and we're going to make sure that we get another vehicle in that area.
For your U.S.
Okay, so there's that. And in response to Trump's tariffs, and this thing with the Brightdrop vehicle, tariffs only part of the equation. It just wasn't selling. Keep that in mind. I don't know if we're going to get another vehicle in there, though. You can't get blood from a stone, and if it's not economically viable, it isn't economically viable. We will see. Ford government in Ontario trying to put a positive spin on a very negative situation with a multi-million-dollar ad campaign. Hang on a second here. I'm going to play this for you. See if I can bring it up full screen. Here we go. Well, it's sort of full screen. It's not 16:9. Okay, here we go.
For generations, this ally to the north has been by your side. Ontario, Canada, a partner connected by shared history, shared values, and a shared vision for what we can achieve together. Stable and secure when the world around us isn't. You can rely on Ontario for energy to power your growing economy and for the critical minerals crucial to new technologies. Ontario is your third largest trading partner and the #1 export destination for 17 states. Our long-standing economic partnership keeps millions of Americans working. In a changing world, it's time to bring jobs back home and build together. More workers, more trade, more prosperity, more security. For generations, this ally to the north has been here. And for generations more, we'll still be here, right by your side.
So that's the ad. But Trump, let me see if I can find you the clip of him responding to this. I think I had it queued. Here it is here. Yeah. This is his response to the Ontario ad. You know, that ad has a real feel-good feeling to it, doesn't it? As much as this is a trade war, Ontario trying to appeal to Americans, because I'm sure that's running on the U.S. side of the border. And he's trying to appeal, the ad's trying to appeal to Americans to say, oh yeah, we're best buds. We're your cousins. Here's Trump, the zero-sum president.
We're the most successful. We're believers in tariffs. And I even see foreign countries now that we are doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. They're taking ads. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're actually on television taking ads. But I do believe that everybody's too smart for that. We have a very, very big and important case coming up. We should win the case based on the legal merit. We should also win the case based on all of the things you'll see some of.
Yeah, so he's saying no one's going to fall for that. And yeah, they do have an important case coming up because the tariffs are being challenged at the Supreme Court level. They may be unconstitutional, and if deemed unconstitutional, everything changes overnight. We will see. What a ride this is. What else do we have for you here tonight? Got a few other things here. Let me just run a little transition here. We're going to come back. We've got more of today's top stories. Don't go away.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I guess it was quite a game. I didn't see the baseball game, but the Jays are going to the World Series, I guess, and they're going to have the whole country behind them. Well, at least all the pro-Canadian people, maybe not the 51st staters. Well, we won that hockey tournament, didn't we? Yeah, well, maybe now we'll bring the World Series back to Canada again with the Jays and make the Americanos cry as they have to concede to Canadians their great American pastime. We shall see. Trump, quite an ego. Here in this clip today on Fox, he was speaking, I think, at the White House. He says they say you're the third best president, third best, and they said, who's the first two? I'm going to run the clip. Just kind of segues into President Poopy Plane and that story tonight. He's so obsessed with himself. Here you are.
Yeah, somebody went up there, they say, you're the third best president in the United States. This was on television, third best. And they said, who are the first two? George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I got extremely angry at this man. You know, you can't. It's going to be tough to beat, Mr. Senator. It's going to be, John. It's going to be very tough to beat Washington and Lincoln, but we're going to give it a try, right? Hey, they didn't put out 8 wars, 9 coming. All right, we put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming. Believe it or not.
Okay. But a lot of people weren't happy with President Trump, obviously, over the weekend. It was on full display. He's trying to downplay it. They called it the, what were they calling it on the MAGA side? The Hate America rallies. Of course, they were supposed to be called the No Kings rallies. And they attracted something like 7 million people, a record number, biggest protest, I guess, in American history. And as a result, Trump threw a bit of a temper tantrum online, no big surprise. He said on Air Force One, I'm no king. I work my ass off, he said. But online, well, he said he was no king. He's sharing and posting memes and AI-generated videos where he's depicting himself as a king. And the fallout from his President Poopy Plane, that's my made up term. I hate these words. Kenny Loggins is actually demanding that Trump take this down because he's using his song Danger Zone. A lot of people pretty upset at this because Trump is in the video crapping on the American people, at least half of them, including some images of prominent people. Just scroll down, you see that the enraged left still freaking out. In Trump's hands, the world's most powerful seat has become the world's greatest spectacle of mockery. Trump posted a video of him dropping poop on American cities from above. This is Sidhu96. I don't think that's a left-wing account. Scroll down. Here's Piers Morgan. Harry says in response to Trump posting AI video of him dropping poop on him and No Kings protesters.
President Trump chose to respond to the weekend's protest by sharing an AI-generated video of himself flying a fighter jet loaded with effluent, which he deposited with surgical accuracy on a friend of his show, Harry's system. Trump's critics did not see the funny side.
I want you to imagine King Charles
having an AI video of himself flying around in an F-16, dropping excrement on people. Okay, so, or Keir Starmer doing that, or what if Albanese did this as an example? Just, I want you to imagine somebody other than Donald Trump on the world stage.
Let's be honest with me here. When you first saw that meme involving excrement being deposited on you, did you laugh?
No, I don't think the president behaving in this way is funny. I think we have to hold our leaders to a higher standard. That's something that you typically see in my Twitter comments from like some MAGA boomer who spends their time making AI videos all day. It's not something you'd really hope to see from the president of the United States. But alas, we are here. This is the guy leading our country. He's not serious. And I don't actually think he cares about anybody but himself. And I think he's more interested in social media beef with a 23-year-old, as the vice president is, than he is in leading the country.
There is a report, for example, that you have sent a cease and desist letter to the White House threatening legal action if they don't withdraw it. Is that true?
No, I saw that on Twitter. I don't know where anybody got that from. I think there are genuinely just a lot of accounts on that platform that make stuff up. And I think that's just another case of that. But you heard it here first. I have not sent a cease and desist to the White House.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit more. News editorial cartoons, and here's Chuck Todd.
He retweeted this meme that essentially had a AI personification of Trump flying a plane and dropping poop on America, flying over major cities and dropping poop. Seriously? Really? At times, it's as if Donald Trump has been 13 his whole life. What he thinks is humorous. And it goes to this larger issue, why the Republican administration, why Donald Trump does not believe he's president for all the people. He really only believes he's president for his base.
And the follow continues. Harry the Soul Coach.
That the President of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping.
Donald Trump is the king of the D's.
That the President of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping on the American people.
The president uses social media to make the point.
The Democrats are in denial. They're in delusion. They're now getting desperate. They've had their march this weekend, and they're proud. They're celebrating. MAGA fans are getting really scared now. There was 7 million people, supposedly. That's 2% of America's population. These people are so lost and in denial of what's going on. And Donald Trump, he's just having fun with his AI videos.
Okay, enough of that, because I don't want the copyright strike on the music. Anyway, you're getting the idea, and I'm sure you're aware that it's not stopping even after a couple of days of this. It's still ramping up. Oh, J.D. Vance posted a new one with a helicopter. Did you see that one? See if it's posted here anywhere. See if I'll find it on the other side here. Hang on. You may not have seen this one yet. And then we're going to pivot back over and talk about the ostriches in a moment. We have a guest about to join us. I got to get this one up for you, though, because it's not just President Poopy Plane. It's, where is it here? Oh, I can't find it. Isn't that weird? It was popping up in my feed all day. Well, trust me, there's one out there, another one. It's another AI-generated video. This one's of a helicopter, and I think Vance is in it, and it has a great big, well, container of poop underneath that is being delivered. Yeah. Okay, enough of this. I can't believe I'm even paying any attention to it. Can't believe it. Okay, let's take a break. We're going to come back on the other side. If I find it through the evening, I'll share it with you, but you can go find it. It's a helicopter carrying a great big square bin of poop. It's very entertaining. Really. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're back, and it's time to talk ostriches. Now we have a guest who's going to be joining us. He's in the back room there someplace. I don't know if he's ready to come on with it or with us or not at this point. His screen is black, but he will be along momentarily. Phil Primo, activist with, I would say, is he an activist? Certainly a, prominent voice within the freedom movement, if you will, in Canada. And he has been paying attention to what's going on with the Universal Ostrich Farm, raising some, I'd say, valid questions as more people are becoming aware of what is going on out of that farm, like really going on, because there's been a lot of, I would say, misdirection. And I'd even say some outright lying. Yes. And so Phil is going to come on tonight and help shed some, I think, maybe, hopefully, some more useful and accurate perspective on this evening. So, again, let me just, he disappeared there on me. So I don't know if he's ready to come on with us or not. Let me take a little break here. We'll get him queued up here. His camera's not activated. I think we're having a little bit of a technical problem. So let's get this ironed out, and we'll be back on the other side of this.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV,
The entire world is watching.
On social media. But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if Phil, are you there? You ready to come in? I don't see your camera on, but I see your video stream with black on the sidebar. Is it okay for me to bring you up onto the screen? Can't hear you.
Mic check, mic check.
There you are. I can hear you now.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I didn't want to go on camera, but I guess I'm going on camera.
You are now. Yeah,
okay.
That's what the link was for, a video feed. But this is good. I'm glad you're here tonight because I know that you've been paying attention to what's going on out at the farm.